East Coast is far. Just keep us in mind wherever you are. What will you miss about us? We'll miss a lot about you. When you come back to see us, you'll be amazed at what we can do.
You've been listening there to the Team Davis Singers, who are participants in the Davis Hootenanny. And here to tell us more about this exciting event in Davis is Pamela Cohen and Joshua Jordan. They are co-founders of the Davis Hootenanny and led it until their recent move to Washington, D.C. The pair also founded the singers you just heard, the Team Davis Singers. They are a disability inclusive music group operated through the Davis Special Olympics organization. Pam formerly worked in the region as an attorney and mediator in the areas of disability rights and discrimination law. She's now the program director at Main Street Connect, a cutting-edge community center for people with disabilities in Rockville, Maryland. And Josh Jordan is a retired social studies teacher and former piano instructor. Welcome to In the Studio here on Davis Media Access.
Thank you, Tim. Nice to be here.
Thank you, Tim. Great to be here.
So a hootenanny, in case anyone's forgotten, is an informal gathering with folk music and sometimes dancing. And we're excited to have a good old hootenanny here in Davis. So Pamela, can you tell us a little bit more about what goes on at a hootenanny?
Yes. So a few years ago, Purple Tree Cafe and the Team Davis Singers reimagined the hootenanny by, in your words, making it a lot of dancing and maybe a little folk music and lots of other kinds of music. It starts out with the Team Davis Singers singing a few songs, followed by an open mic that's people with and without disabilities singing. And then we have a featured performer. And this is all done through a grant by the City of Davis Arts and Cultural Affairs Program, for which we are very grateful. And it takes place at Delta of Venus restaurant downtown.
Fantastic. So the Team Davis Singers do play an important role in this. And Josh, I understand you were instrumental, no pun intended, in really getting that organization going originally before they were then included in this Davis Hootenanny series. So Josh, can you tell us a little bit more about the origin of the Team Davis Singers?
Certainly. The Team Davis Singers went by kind of a different name earlier on under the umbrella of Team Davis, a local Special Olympics organization. And at first it was a kind of a karaoke fun activity that occasionally happened. I took over in 2013 and really moved it over to a live performance kind of thing. And then Pam joined me in this effort a few years later.
Great. So now we've got these two pieces clearly identified. And back to you, Pam. Can you say something a little bit more then about how you got from running and I guess at some point you jumped on with Josh and we're co-leading the Team Davis Singers. How did you get from that to, hey, let's have a hootenanny and let's integrate more of the community in that as well for those events?
Yeah, it can be kind of confusing because I was wearing two different hats when I started the hootenannies, and they were both actually purple, literally purple hats. One was my role leading the Team Davis Singers with Josh, and the other was as the founder and at the time executive director, now board chair of Purple Tree Cafe, which is a nonprofit some people might know from the Davis Farmers Market that employs people with disabilities. And the mission of Purple Tree is both to employ people with disabilities, but also to bring people with and without disabilities together through music and art. So the hootenanny was actually, I was wearing my Purple Tree hat when I thought of that as a way to bring music into the Purple Tree mission. And so because I was also leading the Team Davis Singers, that was where we started. So that's how that all happened.
Great, great. And how long ago now? How long has the Hootenanny been going on?
We started it in 2019, I
Yeah,
believe.
right before the
Yeah.
pandemic. I think we had a
Yeah.
few. So it started out at Three Ladies Cafe, and we had maybe
Mhm.
3 or 4 before the pandemic, and they were, I think, monthly at the time. And they were smaller, and then the pandemic happened, and when we had to pivot, of course, as all other live events did, and we switched over to the Hootenanny at Home, which was a Zoom experience through Facebook Live. And like most people back then, we didn't really know what we were doing with the technology. It was amusing. And then we also had to pivot the money, the grant money that we were using to pay for musicians at the Hootenannies, and now had to be used for something else. And that's when we got Dave Nachmanoff involved to do songwriting workshops with us, with the singers. And we started writing our own songs. And that piece that you played at the beginning was the most recent of the original songs that we wrote.
That's great. So 5 years on the Hootenanny, and then Josh, how long has the Team Davis Singers been around?
Since 2013, but Pam and I started working together on this in 2015. So we've been co-leaders for 9 years, or we were co-leaders for 9 years. Pam mentioned the original songs that our singers have written. There's actually a grand total of 4 of them. The one that you played at the beginning of this piece was the most recent.
And just to clarify, when you say written by you, written as a collaborative effort by members of Team Davis?
Yeah, Dave Nachmanoff, who a lot of people know is a Davis musician, who's really like a worldwide musician, singer, songwriter. He does singer-songwriter workshops with the group. So the first one was, of course, 100% on Zoom because it was the beginning of the pandemic. And so we wrote it all together. Dave does the instrumentals on the recordings, and made the track. So he does all the technical part, and helped us with the writing. But it was really a group effort. And his wonderful producer, Ben Johnston, I want to give a shout out to, because he volunteered to produce the first one, which is called the Davis Bike Song. It's all about biking in Davis. And then we got grant funding to, support him to keep making these videos. He's a great producer.
One thing that's also worth mentioning about the original songs is that the theme or the topic of each of the songs was really generated by the singers, with a little bit of prompting from us, but it's really kind of about what's important to them, such as riding their bikes around town in Davis.
Or missing people, because the last one that you started to play was just so it coincidentally happened to the first day of the workshop was the day that we announced that we were moving away. And so the theme of the song ended up being missing people.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to get back to that in just a moment. But I was curious, you mentioned Delta of Venus, you mentioned Three Ladies Cafe. I believe there have been at least some Hootenannies put on, or some events by Team Davis Singers at the Hunt Boyer Mansion downtown.
That's it.
Yeah, there we go. I'm just curious of how you like these different venues, and how the different venues have sort of lent themselves in maybe different ways to the success of the Hootenanny.
Great question. Do you want to take that, or should I?
I would just comment that I really liked the Hunt Boyer Mansion one, partly because it had a lot of foot traffic. We would always do it on the second Friday, which, if you're a Davis site, that means the Art About. And so we would just get a lot of people walking by, a lot of attention. I really liked that quite a bit. What do you think, Pam?
Yeah, I liked all of them. They all had different things to offer. Three Ladies was very brave to take, there's Dave Nachmanoff right there. The Three Ladies was very brave to take a stab at this when it hadn't happened before. And it was a very cozy environment, which was a lot of fun. People dancing outside. That was also done on Art About Night, so there was some foot traffic. It just became too small for us. And so when we reopened after the pandemic, the city invited us to use the Hunt Boyer space, which had sort of recently been set up for events. I think we were the first events to go there. And the only reason we left there is because there was some construction there that took away most of our dance floor. And so, and also we wanted a place where we could be inside if we had to be. So that's when we got to know Lee at Delta Venus, and he's also just been so supportive. And Delta Venus is a dedicated music venue. A lot of people go there. So it's more of a destination. It's less central, but people go there for music, so they know about it. And it's larger. Then we moved it from the Art About Fridays to Saturday because that worked better for Delta Venus.
Good. Yeah, they're an important stop on the Davis Live Musical Festival. Davis Music Festival in June each year, I know.
Yeah.
You said something earlier in describing this, and I want to make sure this doesn't get lost. And so I'd ask you to say more about this. These Hootenannies include not just the Team Davis singers, but other members of the community, an open mic. And so it's an opportunity, as you said, to really mix those from the disabled community and those who from the non-disabled community, for lack of a more elegant way of saying that. And I just, can you say something more about that and just how you think that enriches the experience for everyone?
Absolutely. So, like I said, Purple Tree's mission is to employ people with disabilities, but also to bring people with and without disabilities together through music. And it's very important that people have fun together. You know, that's really what it is. We want to expose the people with disabilities who are part of Team Davis and their families to the greater community, and not just have them doing things with themselves. And just as importantly, we want to expose the greater community to people with disabilities in a joyful, fun setting.
That's great. And that leads me to my next question. You know, you already mentioned the important contribution, the valuable contribution that Three Ladies Cafe made and that Delta Venus continues to make. And you talked about the community at large participating in this. Can you say something more, and in general, or just, you know, add to it, this sort of catalog of the contributions that the community at large makes to the Hootenanny?
Yes, I'll start, Josh, and you can chime in. One of the things is just to come and dance, come and listen and dance. Your presence there is really important. The people who are participating in this Hootenanny love to see the joy on people's faces when they come by. So keep an eye out for it and just come and experience it. And then there's also, we've actually expanded the Hootenanny from 2 hours to 3 hours this year with extra funding from the city. Thank you. Because there was a demand for it. So there's a longer performer set, but there's also a longer open mic set. And we have a keyboard now. So we would love to get more different musicians to come and participate in the open mic part of the event, as well as to be performers. And you can purchase Purple Tree cookies and make donations to Purple Tree at the Hootenannies, which is another way to participate. Josh, anything else?
Well, I just want to echo what Pam was saying, that for our participants, they really do enjoy being seen in the community and being appreciated and having people in general be aware of their talents. That means a lot to them. And so that's one of the big reasons that we do this, to give them that opportunity.
You know, what's so interesting in this conversation with you, and what's so great about this event is, you know, we have this whole series of interviews in the studio where we talk to different artists and different cultural organizations in the city, and they're all sort of typical in the sense that they have a particular, they serve a particular, express a particular form of art, or are a particular piece of the cultural landscape. And this is what's so interesting, is that you're combining really two missions: the work of Purple Tree Cafe and the work of Team Davis generally, another disability organization here in town, and combining that with art, which is important on its own. And the fact that you've been able to find this way to combine those two, I think, is just such a really important, valuable contribution to the city of Davis and to the cultural landscape of Davis. Is there something you feel, and then on a follow-up, I mean, is and especially now you have some perspective. You've moved out of town, and my understanding is you came into Davis many years ago, and then you headed out. Is there something special about Davis in particular? I mean, would this work just anywhere? And of course, I'm hoping for a big plug here for Davis, and we all feel great. But in all sincerity, I'm curious: is there something about a Davis that really kind of makes this possible all around?
Yes, Josh, why don't you explain that?
I would agree that Davis is special in that way. It's a little hard to kind of explain it in words, but you've got these existing organizations that really dovetail together and work together. So we've got Team Davis, we have Best Buddies, we have the Alternative Rec program through the city of Davis. You've got a fairly large community of people with disabilities living in Davis. So that creates, I think, kind of a critical mass for having this be an important part of Davis's identity. So I'm not saying that you could never replicate this elsewhere, but Davis, to me, is just the perfect place for it.
Yeah, it's also small. Davis is also small enough so that people really go to the Art About. And so people are going to run into us, and it has a bit of a small town feel to it with the resources that we need to be able to put this on. So it's a good size. We hope it's replicable because I'm now a program director at a community center in Maryland where we're going to be leading a similar music program and hoping to do something similar, but it'll never be the same as Davis.
Okay. So the next Hootenanny is when's the next time we can count on and getting down?
I wish I could give you a date. We're planning for sometime in October. We're having some trouble getting the band confirmed, so I don't want to give you a date, but we're hoping for October or maybe November. So just keep an eye out and our social media and our website, and we should know very soon.
Okay. So, and your website is
purpletreecafe.org. Right there. Very good.
I was looking for that, purpletreecafe.org/music. So on a Saturday evening in October or November at Delta of Venus, keep an eye out for that. And I assume that you're also covered in the Davis Dirtford example, which is a good resource for cultural. We had them on the show a year ago or so. So it's nice to remind folks about the intersection of all these different organizations in town. And then also just given everything you've contributed to this, it's sorry to see that you aren't here anymore, but you have handed this off now to some very capable hands, I understand. Who's running this now?
Yes, Kelsey Fortune. Kelsey Fortune is the operations manager and the associate director of Purple Tree, and also happens to be a wonderful singer. Some people may have heard her sing the national anthem at UC Davis sporting events a long time ago. So she's running the singers now, and she's in charge of the Hootenannies.
Okay. Well, just one final thing I have to we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to throw it out there in trying to learn a little bit more about the two of you and your work in this area. I came across some references to something called Posh Jam. And perhaps we'll have to have another meeting or interview at some point. You can fill us in on your wonderful work with the group Posh Jam.
We are the group Posh Jam. We'd be happy to, yes.
Great, great. Well, look, I've been speaking with Pamela Cohen and Joshua Jordan about the Davis Hootenanny and the work of the Team Davis Singers. For more information on this event, you can go to purpletreecafe.org. There is also information on there about the Team Davis Singers. The Team Davis has its own website as well, team-davis.org/singing. So you can learn more and then keep an eye out for that date in October or November. Thank you so much, Pam and Josh.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank
It was
you,
a
Tim.
pleasure to be here.
And thank you all out there for joining us. I'm Tim Gaffaney, and you've been watching In the Studio on Davis Media Access.